Hi, Hailey. Thanks for having us at your home today for the takeaway. We'll be chatting about mental health. And I know you had a stroke as a 6-year-old, so we might even touch on childhood stroke if we have time. But firstly, what do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, sure. I'm a 32-year-old woman, big lover of coffee, art, poetry, and heavy metal.
Heavy metal, what's your favourite band?
Probably Slipknot or Escape the Fate.
Now, we're going to be talking about mental health today, and you've got lived experience of stroke and mental health, but you also work in the mental health area. Who do you work for?
So I worked for HealthScope until I got my role with the Stroke Foundation. So a very recent change in career, but I did work with young adults with acquired brain injuries and mental health challenges for about 10 years.
Can you describe how stroke affected your mental health in the early days of your recovery?
Yeah, sure. Like, I know for me, being a childhood stroke survivor, it definitely was really hard for me to wrap my head around what a stroke was, what it all meant, and that it was a really scary time for me because I was all sort of new, and at the same time, I couldn't really absorb any of the information because it wasn't really meant for kids, or I just really couldn't comprehend anything. I felt really alone, and I think that kind of sort of definitely contributed to the mental health challenges that I faced. And I think at the end of the day, kind of sort of not being able to absorb or emotionally kind of sort of process a lot of those things definitely made it a bit trickier for me down the track.
Hailey, how has your experience of anxiety, sort of managing your emotions or even managing fatigue changed over time?
I know for me personally, just post stroke, I couldn't really understand or comprehend much of it because it was all so new and big and scary. But over time, I've kind of sort of learned that, being able to articulate what you're experiencing and being able to, like, communicate to those around you, like your supports and that, what you need and what you're experiencing has kind of sort of been a really important tool for me in like helping me feel seen and heard in regards to like mental health and fatigue and even anxiety. Like, I know at certain points, like, I had to articulate to my husband what fatigue was because to him, fatigue just meant, oh, you can go for a nap, no problems. I can help you with that, whatever. Or you can be quiet. I can go game for an hour. But at the end of the day, he didn't understand that that wasn't what my fatigue meant. And being able to like articulate what fatigue means to me and how he can best support me has been an amazing tool in making me feel seen and heard. And
How do you communicate or manage your own anxiety?
for me personally, my anxiety is really, really easy to see. Like, my husband can see it as well. I've got telltale signs that kind of sort of give away that I'm feeling quite anxious. Like, for example, my right arm, I also suffer hemiplegia as well. As a result of my stroke, my right arm becomes quite rigid and quite stiff and kind of sort of gets a mind of its own. So, like, at the end of the day, my husband knows that, like, sometimes post and post me feeling really anxious, I just need 5-10 minutes to myself in a room to kind of sort of put in place those like coping strategies that I have, like meditation or just taking 5 to kind of sort of recenter myself.
Do you talk to yourself?
I do actually. I have mantras that I say to myself quite often, and I think for sure having a positive inner voice, and that definitely does play a big role in mental health.
How do you develop? I mean, it's having a positive inner voice is sounds easy, but it's really, really, really hard. Um, did that come over many years of working on that, or were there any strategies or things that helped you to sort of get there faster?
I know for me personally, it kind of sort of came from like lived experience, to be honest with you. I know for a good chunk of time post high school, I was kind of sort of dealing with quite heavy mental health issues and that. And I learned that, having a negative inner voice kind of sort of paints the way you see yourself in your own head. So I find that, creating a really positive inner voice is kind of sort of really key for me. And it's kind of sort of a sign for me that, like, if I'm sitting there and saying really negative things about myself, it's a sign that my mental health actually isn't doing great.
And then do you have tools or resources or people that you go and speak to?
Yeah, for sure. I know for me personally, like, feeling isolated is a big part of my mental health. So I definitely do have those people in my life that I go and talk to. Like, I feel like support groups are really, really important for that, as well as, like, having that one person in your life that's kind of sort of your cheerleader. And I know for me, it's my husband and stepson that do that for me.
Hailey, what emotions did you find the most challenging to cope with after your stroke?
I think for me, it was kind of sort of noticing the difference between me and my peers, not being able to do what I used to be able to do. Like, I used to have the energy to go and run for hours on end and, do the monkey bars and things like that. But I know for me, post-stroke, like, that wasn't really a reality for me. Fatigue hit really, really hard. And kind of sort of dealing with the emotions of, coming to terms with that was really, 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 really big for me. And I think not being able to, like, emotionally process a lot of it made it sort of a little bit more trickier to navigate.
Do you think that there's a relationship between trying to manage your emotions and fatigue?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I know for me personally, like, I wasn't really able to articulate my fatigue until I had to go on to explain it to my now husband. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like, oh, it's okay, you can take a nap. But at the end of the day, that's not what fatigue means to me. And I think being able to articulate what it actually means makes it easier for you to then ask for what you need.
That's a really, really good piece of advice. So how do you explain it?
My fatigue.
Yeah.
For me, there's different categories of fatigue. It's kind of sort of a really complicated story, but, like, there's emotional fatigue, there's physical fatigue, there's mental fatigue, and there's also, like, sensory fatigue for me as well. And I know that me and my husband have had many a conversation in regards to, like, what kind of fatigue am I experiencing today? And he knows now, like, if I come to him and I'm like, I am sensory fatigued up to the eyeballs today, he now knows how to best kind of sort of support me through that. And I think that kind of sort of being able to articulate that and get the help that you need, and making sure that you feel seen and heard in that regard really, really helps in navigating both, like, mental health and fatigue.
So articulation and be able to put language to how you're feeling is a really important gateway to get help.
Yeah, I know for sure. But like, for me, for example, when I'm experiencing quite severe mental fatigue, I also suffer from aphasia. I couldn't communicate for about a year after my stroke, so I know that definitely does rear its head every now and then. And being able to articulate that, it's really, really important.
Hailey, off camera, you mentioned a book that you write for your husband at the end of your day. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Like, I know it's just something that I kind of sort of bring up when I'm feeling really, like, sorry, I'm just going to kill that. When I'm feeling really, like, sort of physically fatigued, I really, really struggle with communication. Like, getting out a sentence is like asking me to write a 3,000 word essay. But I know at the end of the day, if I bring up, like, if I bring out this book and kind of sort of hand it to him, it kind of sort of tells him I'm feeling this way. So I'm feeling really sensory fatigued right now. It pretty much says, just give me 10 minutes to myself and quiet and not so much stimulation would be really, really helpful for me right now. And that kind of sort of gives him the cue on kind of sort of what to do and what not to do at that point in time.
Good advice. Really good advice. Thank you for sharing that. Hailey, what role does connection with other people or support groups play in your mental well-being?
Well, I know for me personally, like, I didn't meet another stroke survivor for about 3 years, and kind of sort of meeting other stroke survivors and other people that have experienced what you've experienced, I think it's one of the most, like, it kind of sort of does what therapy doesn't do in regards to making you feel normal and seen and heard and kind of sort of like not alone in the world. And I think that it's like one of the most important things that you can do. If I could give one bit of advice to anyone that has recently had a stroke, it would be to get involved in a support network.
Does online support networks and your local sort of face-to-face, do they work as well as each other? So if someone is in a regional area, joining an online support group, would you suggest that?
Yeah, I think for sure being involved in a support group in any capacity that you're okay with. Like I know that there's definitely been times where just post-stroke, it kind of sort of, for me, it felt really, really overwhelming and my anxiety and mental health really wasn't in a place to be with other stroke survivors and that. And I know for me personally, kind of sort of, I guess post-COVID, you can say the internet and kind of sort of Zoom chats and coffee clubs and things like that online have become really, really big. And I know at the end of the day, that's a really like non-confrontational way of joining a support group and kind of sort of just beginning that process of kind of sort of feeling seen and heard.
Good advice. Thank you. You've also, as we talked before, you've also worked in mental health. So how's that influenced your own recovery and your learnings?
I know for me personally, it kind of sort of gave me the knowledge to know that I wasn't really alone in what I was feeling. I know for me, I felt really, really alien for a long, long time post-stroke because at the end of the day, none of my friends going to a mainstream school and that none of my friends were experiencing what I was experiencing. And that kind of sort of led me to believe that I was alien and that, but kind of sort of working within the field and that it's kind of sort of let me know that I'm not alone. And I've learned so much through my work with young adults with mental health challenges, and that I think one of the most important things that I've learned is that just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone, and it's really important to meet that person where they are at that time.
Are there any misconceptions about stroke and mental health you wish people understood better?
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to the fact that even though, like, you know, I had my stroke 26 years ago, it's still something that affects me in my day-to-day life. It's not something that you get over. It's not like the flu. Mental health is something that you need to constantly be vigilant about and maintain. And I feel like it's very much the same with your stroke. I still see a physio weekly and still see a psychiatrist quite regularly. But in regards to people saying, oh, you know, you should be over that by now, I feel like that's a really dangerous attitude to have towards stroke survivors as well, because it kind of sort of stops them feeling like they're able to talk openly about their mental health. Even though I know sometimes it can be quite, people within your life can look at it like it's quite encouraging, saying, oh, you know, you've made it through worse. I feel like it's quite a dangerous thing to say.
So when have somebody said that to you, and can you tell me how you felt when someone said that to you?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of sort of, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people within my life have said that to me. And sometimes it is quite uplifting, but sometimes it can be quite devalidating as well. Just because you've made it through worse doesn't mean that this is any less difficult.
Thank you for your time, Hailey. We're now going to go outside and meet your rambunctious fur babies. So let's go. Hailey, does the fur babies help with your anxiety?
Oh, for sure. Just coming home to that.
Madness.
Yeah.
Just so that everyone knows, they're now running in and outside the doorway. And one more question. We talked about Slipknot as being one of your favourite bands. Is there a song that you listen to that helps with your anxiety or your mental health?
Yeah, I know for sure. Like, I definitely do have a lot of social anxiety, and that just around, you know, being out in public and being asked questions about, you know, my hemiplegia and what happened. It definitely causes a large level of anxiety for me because it was quite a traumatic event. But I know for sure, like, there's a song by Slipknot called Before I Forget, and that definitely, like, G's me up into thinking, you know, I can take on the world. So
Love it. Thank you for your time.